There's objective truth and there's subjective truth. Objective truth is not anything that any human can attain. We can get pretty close to the objective truth, but it will always be through our own lens, through how we perceive the world. So for example, I was sitting with a client once by the water, and we were having this was the topic of conversation about the truth, and there always being one truth. And he always wants to have everyone hear him out as to why what he is saying is the truth, that there is only one truth. And so he pointed out, look, there's a woman over there. By the measures of society, that person is, his own words, fat. You can't deny this, he said. I said, well, by measures or standards of the proportionalities that we are supposed to have as humans before we started eating how we eat and having sedentary life, before the lifestyle that we currently live in, yes, that person is considered to be bigger than the average person. I said, but the way you see her as fat, I see her as bigger than the average. You see her as not being attractive. I see her as just being a person. And her husband, who's all over her right now, sees her as beautiful. So at the end, there may be a truth in terms of standards, and then there is the bias that we all have based on our own preferences, our own judgment, our own standards of what is deemed to be normal, okay, acceptable, better, whatever you want to call it. I didn't see that person as fat. I just saw that person as bigger than the average person. I didn't see that person as ugly or any less than. I just saw her a person that would please some people and not others. So there is a subjective truth that we see, and when we go around in life trying to prove that we're always right by telling everyone how things need to be, then we miss out on opportunities to learn and hear other ways of being. When I was younger, I went to a family gathering, and one aunt decided to hug me and told me, oh, look at you, you're losing so much weight. You're losing too much weight. You need to start eating more. And then the other aunt turned around and started squeezing whatever skin she could find on the side, telling me, oh my goodness, look at this. You're eating too much. You're getting chubby. You got to be careful what you eat. And that day, even if it could be sad for, considered sad for any preteen to have to live that, actually opened my eyes up that the measurements of what we consider as good or bad is solely based on what is around us and what we're being fed and told. So those two aunts actually did me a service to both speak up on the same day, because it allowed me to see that at the end of the day, preferences are preferences. Different people will like different things. Different people will view different things as okay. And it doesn't really matter. We can continue to strive to be XYZ. When I lose weight, maybe I like my waist a little more, but I like my butt a little less. When I gain a little bit of weight, then my butt and my legs start looking nice, but I see a little bit of chubbiness around my waist. At the end of the day, it's endlessly searching for perfection is absolutely ridiculous. And the way other people see me is not how I see myself. I grew up completely insecure, regardless of hearing at least 3 to 4 times a week comments on my physical appearance in a positive way. So I would understand that society sees me in a certain way, but I was never been able to see myself like that. I was never able to witness myself as a beautiful person growing up. I was riddled with insecurities because people think that it's okay to make comments all the time and to point out the physical aspect of someone every second of the day. So even if they are compliments, I learned to always perceive them, even compliments, as judgment. The person is sizing me up and looking for things in me that they like or dislike. And so it created a nourishment barrier where I wasn't able to just accept compliments as compliments. I saw them as just feeling uncomfortable that I'm being judged. And I lived really, really, really poorly in my own skin for a really long time. So all that to say, who gives a shit what people think? Everyone likes different things. We don't like everything. We prefer some things. So how can we expect us to be the preference of the other person? It's just not realistic. You know, if you feel good in your skin, that's what's the most important part of it. We are the prisoner and the jailer of our own misery. Sure, society's given us different cells that they try to lure us in and say, hey, look, this is the one you should be in. This is the one you should be in. But none of them actually have doors that lock. We decide to walk in consciously into those cells in our mind and create our own mental hell. Heaven and earth exist here on earth. It's all about how you feel in your own body, in your own head, in your heart. It's being able to take action from there. So yes, there's 3 steps when you're healing. Yes, the first one is learning to be able to identify your own feelings and what feels good and what doesn't. The second is being able to question where maybe that's coming from. Why is that coming into my world? Why is that coming into my existence? Does it have to do with me feeling not good enough? Does it have to do with something I learned somewhere? Does it have to do with false understanding of what is good and what is bad for us? And the third is being able to question what values we're attaching ourselves onto. Am I valuing physical possessions too much? Am I valuing other people's judgment too much? Is validation from other people what I'm seeking? Once we start to be able to do that, that's when we start to liberate ourselves. The third step is definitely by far the hardest, and it takes the most work. And once you're determined that this is the type of life you want to live, and you want to live in being a fully aware and conscious human being, you don't want to stick your head in the sand because you know that your body is still visible outside of the sand, like an ostrich. Once you've committed to this kind of life, then you just keep going. And yeah, some days it's not fun because you're really questioning yourself and trying to get answers, but it does get easier. So when I first started doing this work of trying to observe myself and then actively parent myself into becoming more emotionally mature and growing up and being more decisive, being the one to decide and dictate the reality that I live in, the things I believe in, the things I value. When I started creating a value system for myself, I literally sat there and asked myself, what are the things I care the most about? And from there stemmed all actions that I would take, all ways of perceiving things, all experiences I would put against that value system that I created. What level of consciousness I had and how the quality of the life I lived would be determined by the conscience, my conscience, meaning what I value, what I believe in. If I believe in honesty, then I gotta be honest with myself. Then I gotta be honest with others. I can't say, for example, make plans with someone and tell them, oh, we can go, I haven't been to this place for a long time, but we can also go here, 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 here. If that person chooses one of the other options you've given and now you're upset about it, you got to be honest with yourself, you know? well, why am I expecting something? Why am I expecting the other person to give me what I want? When in reality, I didn't say I wanted this. I said, well, this would be pretty good. And then there's this, right? So this is just an example of moments in time where we actually don't speak up for things we want, and then we feel things about it, and we set ourselves up for failure sometimes. So part of growing up emotionally is understanding that short-term gains do not in any way, shape, or form outweigh long-term goals. Once we start to understand that, we're able to actually question in the moment, okay, fine, let's say I'm bored and I'm gonna indulge in something that I've been wanting to stay away from because I feel bored. So in the present moment, I want to change something in my reality. That's not necessarily what's going to cause happiness in the long term, because the negative emotions that will ensue from it is not necessarily a good one. So you should think about that.